All right. Well, hey guys, it's Lisa, and welcome to the first demo video for assignments, or I'm sorry, for exercise 3 for week 4. All right, so first thing we're going to do is take our exercise 2 folder and just copy it, paste it. And let me make this disclaimer to make any changes you may have received in feedback so that it is as perfect as possible. And then we're going to open VS Code and begin working there. But before we do that, I do want to note that it's very important that this week we're working primarily with our CSS, so our styles. So it's helpful to make sure that your styles are kind of where they need to be, linked the correct way, that sort of thing. So what I would recommend you do is create a new folder in your exercise 3, name it styles, drop your styles sheet in there, and then go from there. And this is not over here, but this will just make your lives a little bit easier. So I would recommend doing it. All right, so we're gonna drag this in here, drop it, open it, and you'll see there it is. We have our styles. And the other thing I would recommend doing too is just checking your style sheet link within your code. So we've not talked about this before, and I can say very honestly, I haven't graded you guys on this yet because we weren't working with our CSS. But it's very important that you have just a couple of things after your CSS link. So we're going to make sure it can find my CSS. So mine's in the folder. So I'm going to do styles. So this is going to tell the let's get rid of that double. It's going to tell the, sorry, now that I'm typing it in multiple times, it's telling the browser where to find it. And then next thing we want to do is have, type in rel, R-E-L, and then equals style sheets. Style sheet, you can grab it there. And type equals text-css. Okay, so, and this is just, again, so that it knows where it's finding the stuff that it needs. So you want to just make sure that you got all your code in there so that you can find what you need when you need it. And it looks like we have that twice, so therefore it's getting a little crazy and there's an extra piece of code in there. So just check all that and save it. Okay, so if that seems complicated, it's not. It's just difficult to talk through it and type at the same time. So again, put your styles.css in the styles folder, and then just make sure it's linked correctly. So it's saying that it's a style sheet and that it's text.css, and make sure that you have the appropriate open and closing codes. All right, so once we do that, we're going to come back here, and this will seem very easy now. We're going to go to fonts.adobe.com. So you can just click on that. And then sign in with your Adobe credentials. And then we're going to look for the Merriweather font and the Oswald. So Merriweather, first one. View family, and we want the regular and the bold style. So we're just going to do activate and bold. And then we want Oswald. And we want the light and medium. So again, view family and light, oops, and medium. Okay, and then go to My Adobe Fonts. And this is how you can see here it's going to, you're going to make a web project. So basically go to My Adobe Fonts and then click on this little code sign and see, give your project a name, exercise 3. And we just want light and medium of Oswald's. And click done. And then same thing with Merriweather. Add it to exercise 3, and we want regular and bold. And save, and done, and we're good. Okay, so once we did that, we're going to come to web projects. Okay, once we do that, we're going to come to active fonts. And let's see if we can get there again. We have to find our web projects. There it is. It just took a second to update. Okay, and then you can see here is our link that we're going to then put under our CSS link in our HTML. So you're going to want to copy all of this. And we're on step 5. So under here, do that. And then copy both of these and put it into page 2 as well. And then save it and save it. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is create a rule for the body tag that makes the font 16 pixels. So just kind of a FYI, 16 pixels is equivalent to 1 em, that's EM, and that's basically a unit of measurement in the design world, and it's basically the size of the letter M, conveniently named. But yeah, so it's easier if we think in ems as opposed to in pixels, because then it will scale a little bit more proportionally. So if you're like, that makes no sense, just know that 16 equals 1, and it's just a little bit easier to do calculations in ems as opposed to in pixels. Okay, so how we're going to practically do that is we're going to come to our CSS and create our first entry, and that's going to be for body. And important to note, CSS has these little kind of curly brackets. So you put in one and then it adds the second. And we're going to do font size and 1 em. You see here, it wants to give you that choice. Okay. Create a rule that adds the font family Merriweather, Georgia, Times New Roman, and Times Serif to the H1 tag. So again, anytime you see the words create a rule, it basically means put it in your CSS. So we're going to do font-family and find, what are we looking for, Georgia. And then we're just going to add Merriweather. And it's important to put each of these little kind of quotation marky things as well as a comma. And if the colors turn kind of reddish and white, then you know it's correct. All right, same thing with the H2 tag. So we're gonna just copy paste it and do it one more time. So H2, oops, it's P. Okay, and we're gonna save that. All right, and then we're gonna see how it is looking. So let's open up our file, drag our index into our piece, and you can see it's now applying the Merriweather font, so it looks slightly different than it did before. And it's very slight. So if you're like, I don't really notice it, it's okay. You will begin noticing it at some point. So important thing to remember is just make sure that your CSS is properly linked, because if you do have an improper link or it's broken, then you won't be able to see it too much. So that could be an issue. Okay, so let's keep on moving. Next thing we're going to do is go to type-scale. And basically, this is a visual scale calculator. So it tells you what size different things need to be so that you have just visual consistency on your page. This is 1.250, so a major third. It's almost like music, which is kind of cool as well. All right, so just click there, and that's going to give us different sizes for the different parts of our pages to, again, ensure that it's overall pretty consistent. Okay, so using the type scale, pick sizes for your H1, H2, and paragraphs, add them to their respective CSS rules. Note your paragraphs should be the default size or very close to it. Okay, so let's look here and see, so what size do we want our H1? So remember that's the biggest. So let's say we want our H1 this size. You can just, let's say we want it really big. Take that and copy. Come back to your CSS. We're going to do font size. Just paste it in there, but keep your code neat so it's on the same line. H2, let's go down to here. Copy it. Okay. And the default is this one, so it's 1M. Let's just make it slightly larger. Okay. All right, so let's keep on moving. Picking from the provided color palette, pick a color for the H1 and apply it. Oh, but before we keep on moving, let's just check out our documents. So I'm going to reload it. Oh, and you'll see instantly it got very large. So we know things are working. So if you're getting to this step and you test your document and things don't look any bigger, that would be a heads up to check how your CSS is linked, because you might have an issue there. So pay attention to it. Don't be like, oh, well, I'll just wait. No, because if it's not linked correctly, you're never going to see anything. And it's going to be difficult. Okay, so we're going to pick a color from the provided palette. So the palette is here. So you can just click on it. It's going to open. So if you're thinking, how do I find out what each of these colors are? You can see they have a little hex code number, and they're a little difficult to read, but if you zoom in, you should be able to see it pretty good. I'm going to go with this one. So again, as I said, the hex code, it's this number, so it's kind of numbers and letters, and it's kind of how the internet speaks color. So, all right, and 4B678F. And sorry, I'm forgetting what I'm doing here. H1. Okay. So we're going to do color. 4B, I forgot what it was. 4B678F. 4B678F. And you'll see I put the little pound sign before, and that's another way that you notify that it's a color. So just make sure you're doing that and save it. And yay, it worked. All right, let's see. Create rules that add this family to the UL and OL elements of your H3. And actually, before we do that, we're going to stop this video because I see we've made it to step 13. So we're going to stop, and then we're going to pick up from 13 and probably take it through 20-ish. in the second video, and then the third will kind of go from there. All right, so again, test your CSS, test your document, make sure it's really showing up, and yeah, hopefully you're having fun having fun going through all of these.